at the baseline of beauty is chemical regulations. All of the products have chemicals in them, whether good or bad. I often hear people on the internet, because I hear a lot of people who misunderstand what's, science, and say, oh, it's chemical free. There is nothing that's chemical free. Chemicals are in everything, and good or bad. So there needs to be some work done, because right now all chemicals are held to be innocent until proven guilty, and it often puts the consumers or the users health at harm. So considering the fact that there are thousands of chemicals put out, what are the boundaries we place so that they aren't going out before they're actually evaluated for safety?
That was Dr. Elissia Franklin, research scientist, analytical chemist, and lead author of a recently released study which found nearly 50 dangerous chemicals in both synthetic and human hair extensions. However, this is not Dr. Franklin's first time utilizing her expertise to explore how beauty products affect health outcomes. In fact, she has dedicated her career to exposing and addressing how and why chemical exposure injustices are disproportionately experienced by Black women and other marginalized groups. Welcome to She Really Gets It, a public health podcast. I'm Stephanie Rhodes, a Black woman, public health professional, and your guide to understanding how policies, institutions, and the systems that uphold them harm the public's health, but also how people are coming together to repair that harm and change the system. In this episode of She Really Gets It, Dr. Elissia Franklin and I discuss beauty justice, what it is, and the steps we can take to get it. You describe the work you do as beauty justice. What is beauty justice?
It's under the umbrella of environmental justice. And it's this idea that we should live in a world where no one's health is put at harm because of the beauty practices that they choose, or the beauty products that they choose, or that others choose. Because you also think about manufacturers who are making the products, and also beauty professionals. There are a lot of chemicals that are used in the process of making these products. And then at the end point, there is someone who's going to use it. Some of the chemicals in the products are known to cause cancer, birth defects, or even are reproductive toxicants. And so, how do these chemicals end up in these products? And so, a lot of my work is to understand what we're being exposed to and shine light on that, so that there can be changes in industry, because I don't believe in policing Black women. We've been policed enough. So I really believe that the change has to come with systematic changes, and industries being held accountable, and regulators putting in the work to protect those most vulnerable to these chemical exposures.
Yes, and so when we think about accountability, I always want to give people that are listening steps they can take. Are there steps you can take at the local level when it comes to policy or advocacy to advocate for safer beauty products?
Yeah, I mean, the simplest, or I don't want to say simplest, because they're trying to make it not simple, but I don't want to get into politics. Is voting. Who do you vote for, and do you know of any of the candidates that are trying to represent the area that you're in, that have some part of their campaign where they are seeking to support chemical regulations? So at the baseline of beauty is chemical regulations. All of the products have chemicals in them, whether good or bad. I often hear people on the internet, because I hear a lot of people who misunderstand what's, science, and say, oh, it's chemical free. There is nothing that's chemical free. Chemicals are in everything, and good or bad. So there needs to be some work done, because right now all chemicals are held to be innocent until proven guilty, and it often puts the consumers or the users health at harm. So considering the fact that there are thousands of chemicals put out, what are the boundaries we place so that they aren't going out before they're actually evaluated for safety.
And that is something interesting you said because I think people don't understand that about our regulations when it comes to beauty products. They don't have to be proven safe to be put on the market. They are put on the market and they have to be proven unsafe in order to be taken off. So, can you speak more to that process?
You said it perfectly. It's innocent until proven guilty. And so, where we stand in the beauty industry, because specifically, there are two things. There's either the product that has the ingredients label that lists the required ingredients so that they can follow the standards that are currently set, but the standards are kind of low. So you think about products like shampoo, for instance, it lists the chemicals, but then there's these loopholes, such as fragrance. Fragrance has absolutely no meaning. What I mean by that is fragrance can account for thousands of mixtures of chemicals, and some of those chemicals are known to cause harm. Some of those chemicals are hormone disruptors, and we know that hormone disruptors, even at low levels, can cause harm. So you have these umbrella terms that are used that don't quite articulate what chemicals you're being exposed to. And that's one challenge, is transparency on labels. And then even deeper into the challenge of transparency on labels are the products that don't have to list ingredients at all. And that's where you get into the hair extensions, where it's just a very underregulated product, where currently the companies or the manufacturers are not required to list the ingredients or exactly what they're putting in the hair extensions. So when you go to the store to try to make an informed decision, but there's no information provided to you by the manufacturer, so you just kind of left in the dark as a consumer and as a user.
So, the name of the study that you authored is Identifying Chemicals of Health Concern in Hair Extensions Using Suspect Screening and Non Targeted Analysis. Can you break down what that means?
Yeah, so we really wanted to look at the chemical composition of hair extensions. And we wanted to do it in a way that was beyond the chemicals that people are typically targeting for analysis. So, usually what happens is people have this list, maybe list of 45 to 60 chemicals that they are going to go in and hunt for in the products. And they're going to say, is it in this product or that one? They may list out 10 products, 20 products, whatever, and they're just scanning through to see if this list of, let's just say, 60 chemicals is on it, yes or no. And then they'll report out that. What we wanted to do, which was different, is collect all of the data that we could. So, as many chemicals that our instrument could detect, we wanted to collect those. And then we asked the question, what chemicals are in this product that were detectable? And then from there, are any of those chemicals harmful? And so we tested 43 hair extension products. And across all our samples, we were able to identify over 900 chemicals. And from there, we narrowed it down and were able to identify about 169 chemicals. And then narrowing it down anymore from that list of identifiable chemicals, how many were harmful or potentially hazardous, that narrowed down to 48 chemicals. So almost 50 chemicals that we were able to identify that were hazardous. And this is concerning for us because these are chemicals that were detected across 41 of the 43 samples.
So, there were some that were identifiable and there were some that weren't identifiable, correct? So,
Exactly.
of those that are not identifiable, do we know anything about those or can we say if they're good or bad or they just exist?
Yeah, some of those chemicals we know a little bit about their structures, but for the majority of them, no, we know nothing about them, which goes back to my point of there there are going to be chemicals in products that just aren't listed. That's why I talked about the labels where in some cases they list what they can and they list what they think they're what they intentionally are adding. But there's going to be some lingering chemicals that maybe they don't have to mention, because again, there's terms like fragrance out there where they don't have to list every single ingredient that's in a fragrance, right? In the case of hair extensions, we detected all these chemicals. They were never going to be on the label because
Yeah.
it's just not a requirement, right? So yeah, that's why I often struggle with giving recommendations about hair extensions, because I know that I could only identify 10% of the chemicals in the sample. What if 10 years from now, one of those chemical hits is identified and it happened to be just as harmful as the chemicals that I could identify? And I was out here saying, like, oh, that's a safe product. But I also believe in just mitigating risk generally by considering just what your total use of all products.
And so when we think about hair extensions, when we say extensions, do we mean just the synthetic extensions or also the human hair extensions?
Unfortunately, all of them. I
Okay.
tested, so in our work, we tested human hair, we tested synthetic hair, we tested eyelashes, we tested banana fibers,
The
we tested.
banana fibers too?
Yeah,
Oh,
so one thing that we did find that was hopeful was, of the chemicals we were able to identify and were on hazard lists, the products that aim to do better were a bit better than some of the samples that didn't aim to do better. So there's hope in that. If you do aim to purchase from those products currently that are trying to do better, you're potentially reducing your risk. Though again, like, regulation is not there. So terms like non-toxic, toxic free, free of this,
yes.
free of that are not regulated at all. So this is unrelated but related. I saw an article about BPA and pacifiers, and
Yeah.
pacifiers aren't quite regulated either, although bottles and other things are. And so they found that BPA was actually higher in the products that listed to be BPA free. And so,
Really?
and it's because some products that aren't regulated, who's gonna tell them to stop it? Like, you got, there has to be some type of regulating, or people like checking for these people,
But
you
I think
know?
that's what our thoughts are, is that we think like the FDA, right? Or
Mhm.
in the case of food, we think like the USDA, that that's what they're doing, that they're regulating, that they're the watchdog. So
Yeah.
what does it mean when they're not doing that? What does that mean for the consumer in terms of like keeping themselves safe or safer?
And again, it just shouldn't be on the consumer. There should be safe products that we purchase. And, I always believe in folks using their buying power to make the best decision. And again, these were people that were trying to do their best. They're purchasing a BPA free product. So that's why I say sometimes it's like you can give tips and aim to do as good as you can, but I generally try to, I have this idea of being like a chemical minimalist, right? Where
Yeah.
I just don't want to expose myself to things until I really, really want it. Like, I gotta really, really want it. And so
Yeah.
doing my own hair for a while, for a few months back to back. And then it's like, okay, it's my hair is shedding. It's time to get my ends clipped. Like,
Yeah.
so I really, really want to get my ends clipped. So I'm gonna go into a salon, which I don't have control. I've let go control. I don't need to know all the ingredients to all the products that y'all using. Although I have a few photos from times where I went to a salon and I'm like, can I take a picture of all the ingredients?
Yeah.
I mean, you can still use it because I know you want my hair to come out looking a certain way. But I've gotten to a point where I just let go, and because I know I annoy people. So I was like, I just let go of all authority. I'm here sitting in your seat. I have to trust you, and I'm gonna get my hair done this time, and then I'm gonna go back for the next few weeks and do my own hair where I have what I feel like is more like control over what I'm being exposed to.
Absolutely. And so when you're going into like a beauty supply store and you're like, okay, I need to get like, oil for my hair, I need to get a shampoo, I need to get a conditioner. What are your thoughts, or what do you look for? Alicia Franklin, research scientist, but also someone who has hair and wants their hair to look nice. Are there things that you completely avoid when you walk in? And are there
I
things that you specifically look for?
I love that you say I want my hair to look nice, because the first thing is fragrance free. 'Cause I
Okay.
think that I don't know how we got to a point where all of our products have to have scent. Cause in my head, I'm just like, you got the scent from the shampoo, the scent from the conditioner, the scent from the leave-in conditioner, the scent from the edge. Everything
Yeah.
has a scent, and it's like now you just smell like all these scents. But beyond that, these are different mixtures, the chemicals from the different fragrances you're exposed to. So my first thing is I'm always looking for fragrance-free. Though it's very difficult to find hair products specifically that are in places where Black women frequent that are fragrance free. I genuinely did this little search where I was in a store for, I'm embarrassed to say how long, but my goal was to walk away with fragrance-free products, and I was not able to find a routine that was completely fragrance-free. The only way to really achieve that is through purchasing products online, just because the companies that are trying to do better aren't necessarily taking up the shelves at your local beauty supply store. And so fragrance-free is one of them. For hair extensions in particular, I believe in my buying power, so even if I'm not quite aware of exactly what chemicals are used in what products, I always aim to purchase from the ones that are like their end goal, and one of their primary goals is the safety of the consumer. I'm more so focused on those type of products.
And I also know there are different regulations in different countries. So sometimes I know when it comes to like skincare, hair care, anything around beauty, every country has their own rules and regulating bodies. Have you also found that maybe it's safer to purchase things from outside of the US in terms of like its overall safety? Is there a comparison there?
Yeah, that's not within my knowledge. I don't know the safety. I do know in the US we've only banned 10 chemicals from use, whereas the European Union has, banned over 1,000 chemicals from being used in products. And so that by itself speaks wonders, and that they are banning more chemicals from being used in products. However, whether or not it translates to actual exposure differences, I'm not familiar with that.
Absolutely. I was even thinking about the use of like chemical straighteners and relaxers as well, and how those are still on the market. Like you still buy Just For Me or products like that at the CVS or a Walgreens or wherever you go. Some women are still getting like chemical relaxers and straighteners. Do you have any advice in terms of just overall safety in terms of those products as well?
Yeah, ventilation is one. You wanna make sure there's plenty of air coming in and out of wherever you are doing the practice out of. Of course, you wanna make sure you're completely rinsing out the product, and consider the product you're using before and after it as well. So even if you're gonna use a relaxer, is there a way for you to choose a safer conditioner, a safer oil, and all the other products that surround the use of the hair relaxer?
If you would like to learn more about Alicia's work and beauty justice, you can check out the website for the Silent Spring Institute at silentspring.org, as well as www.aliciaphd.com. And if you are interested in additional info on how to reduce harmful chemical exposures in places where you live, work, and play, you can check out the Detox Me app. I will include links to all of the information mentioned here and in the episode in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode of She Really Gets It, please review and rate this podcast via Apple, Spotify, and everywhere else podcasts are found. It really helps people find the show.